11 Personnel is live. It's game week. The Cats are taking on Ball State, and we're brought to you by our friends at Monticello Bank. Finally, look it. Our friend Josh Pate likes to say there is no off season, but man, August really sucked. I'm not gonna lie. I'm so ready for these games to get started. It felt good just to get buried in game notes for a little while.
Yeah.
I hate that we're at the point where advanced stats, you can't do numbers or anything right now. You can just kind of look at what some of the guys did last year. Yeah, but it's not the same. So it's a nice little taste. It's the final day without college football. Utah and Florida are the headliner tomorrow night, along with Nebraska and Minnesota, which I think we might do a little Australian parlay. Go down under on both games. Huh?
Oh, is that something you just made up off the dome there?
From the land down under. We're going way down under.
Like it.
Why not? Why not? It could be an ugly first night of college football, but it's better than no football. I'm fired up. I've even got my Hardly Gilmore Coliseum jersey on. Look at that. The little it's got the old school. Hell, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. Look at that logo.
No
the Value
Nike
City, 2003. Yeah.
No Nike and Pahokee. Yeah, I did, Nick. This is my wheelhouse here this weekend. I mean, five straight days of college football. No NFL. This is the only college football only weekend. It controls the sports world. Ties in with a holiday weekend. We start the season on a holiday weekend. We end the season on a holiday weekend. This is just I don't know if any sport has a better way that they start a year than college football does. Just with you own a holiday weekend. It's only you. You have 5 straight days where you're the center of attention. And we've got some fun games. You got some snoozer games. But Thursday, I'm really excited to sit down and watch Florida, Utah, Minnesota, Nebraska. Now, those are games that have taken place October 15th. I don't know if we're super that excited to watch them, but I'm stoked to have that now at the end of the offseason. I think it's really exciting. And speaking of that Minnesota-Nebraska game, Nick, did you know Nebraska has not been to a bowl game since 2016?
Yeah, Wandale Robinson never went to one when he was there.
They are.
But
I was doing a little exercise today where I was looking up last 5-year records, and I sent out a tweet on Wednesday morning that said, Kentucky had the 4th or 5th best record in the SEC out of the last 5 years. Nebraska is 19-37 over the last 5 years. That's only 3 more wins than Vanderbilt. And Vanderbilt had a winless season mixed in there, and they've been to one bowl game, I think, in that time. I think they went in 2018 as a 6-6 team. So, yeah, and they're facing a Minnesota team. Like Minnesota quietly, I think I've talked about this before, but I don't think P.J. Fleck gets enough credit for what he's done at Minnesota. They are 39-20 over the last 5 years. That's a consistent winner. If you take out the COVID season, they've won. I think they're 29-10 over 3 full seasons. So that's a really good program he's got rolling up there in Minneapolis. So I'm excited to see what Matt Rule can kind of do up there. Jeff Sims at Nebraska is going to look weird.
It's going to look weird, but I like Jeff Sims at Georgia Tech. He just does stuff, and I feel like that's kind of a Matt Rule wheelhouse. So if I'm doing anything in that game, I'm just playing under. I want to say I shared a stat with a buddy that was pretty remarkable. Let me pull it up real quickly for the masses. So Nebraska, 7 of their last 9 games have gone under, and Minnesota, 8 of their last 11 home games went under. And now that's, different regime, right? Different coaching. Satterfield isn't, they got Marcus Satterfield in there, so we know his high-flying offenses.
Grading on a curve.
But I can't trust that touchdown. I can't trust either side of the touchdown, especially new quarterback. Tanner Morgan's out there. Is Josh Pascal's old teammate still running the football up there?
That was his last year. He is gone. So
okay.
Minnesota's the most run-heavy, I think, Power 5 team over the last couple of years, and Mo Ibrahim had a lot to do with that. But 42.5 is the total there. That's light 40s.
Yeah.
Sweat. There you go. I mean,
It's
there's
a
no
big
better
sweat.
way to jump into a season. Just get it out
Cold
of the way.
water, ice cold under sweat. The folks in the chat want to know: do we have any plays? Because if you want any Thursday night ones, we'll give out some tonight. Yeah. Thanks to our friends at Monticello Bank. They're good with money, just like we are. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know that they've been in business for 128 years because they're good with money. Our presenting sponsor has 21 branches and over 14 counties across the Commonwealth. It's where people matter, whether you're dealing with home loan, trying to get a new car, whatever it may be. They'll go wherever you go with the NBC mobile app. NBCbank.com, where people matter. Monticello Bank, it says it on the hat right there. Remember, FDIC. We can give out some Thursday night action right now before we dive into it because Friday is where we're going to share all of our Saturday picks. We're going to go through all of the slate. I love that you mentioned the 5 nights in a row because Louisville fans are mad that on the ESPN graphic they just leave off Friday because Louisville, Georgia Tech just doesn't move the needle whatsoever. That's hilarious. But we're going to give you everything you need to know about Ball State and a few updates about Kentucky as well. But Lucky, do you have anything you're feeling strongly about on Thursday night?
Yeah, I kind of like NC State here. It's 14 and a hook. Don't necessarily love that hook there, but first quarter is -3.5, Nick. -110. Kind of like that. If you want to just lay the first quarter there just to have something. But NC State's one I definitely like with Brendan Armstrong. Talked about that this month. That's a season win total for me, so I think NC State's going to have a good season. So I like them, -14.5. That Florida-Utah line is interesting right now. When it was at 7, really throughout the summer, I like Florida a good amount there. But now that it's sneaking down, Cam Rising is officially out per ESPN's Pete Thamel reporting. It's getting to the point now where it's getting low where I think you kind of have to consider Utah. But like with it being the first week, I wouldn't go either way. I would maybe try to see how Utah's quarterback does, and maybe if live betting is an option for you, maybe kind of look at that to see how the quarterbacks are doing, because there's going to be a very much feeling out part of that game, specifically seeing if any team can run the ball, because if Utah stuff in Florida early, it's going to be hard for them to score. That might be something you have to do there. So yeah, I think NC State is really the one of any of them that I like there. I would lay the 14.5, and I feel pretty good about it. Not great. I think I like -3.5 though in the first quarter more.
Man, just getting excited about the option of live betting in Kentucky. We are only, 2 weeks away or a week away from doing it in person, I want to say. Yeah, no, just next Thursday. You'll be able to do it at any of the horse tracks. I know Churchill Downs and Derby City Gaming in Louisville will have stuff on site. I haven't, I believe it or not, I'm not on the listserv for Keeneland or some of those other places, so I don't get all of the press releases, but I'm assuming they'll be open running at the other tracks as well. Turfway and all of those, all the CDI properties will be ready to rock and roll. But September 28th is when we'll be live here. We'll be live Friday, I guess noon 1 is we're going to roll out our first pigskin preview. We'll have picks. We'll have lots of picks. I'm fired up for that. Dive into some research as we speak, but we'll save that for later. We got to talk about Kentucky because Zach Yenser just kind of let it slip that Jeremy Flax is going to be the starter. I think we were operating under that assumption when the depth chart had the ore of all ores, right, that we all saw coming from a mile away. But Yenser gave him he's starting. They're all both going to play a lot, though. So I don't know how. I'm trying to not come across because Jeremy Flax has caught a lot of flack, if you will, from the fan base, and I feel like he's just a whipping boy for all of the offensive line's problems last year. Because when he got beat, it was plain as day, right? Like he was just turned around staring. His bad
moments were worse than anybody else's, right?
Yes,
outside
but he wasn't.
Ball, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, but he wasn't like this kid can never play football ever again. Bad. I think some of the criticism is a little too harsh. And that experience, people kind of forget that. Cortland Ford showed up 2 months ago, 3. So he's got some catching up to do. I can understand why Flax is going to be the first to get his number called on Saturday.
Yeah, that question right there in the chat that Steven just put up at the start from Taylor, start him or lose him. I think there was definitely a feeling out with Flax because he's a grad. He can just leave whenever. And he's got the one free transfer, too. He could have left 3 weeks ago, Nick, and went and played somewhere. I think we've talked about that last week. So that was definitely an issue there. I do agree with you on he unfairly, I think, gets a lot of the brunt of the criticism. Like, he's just been the one guy they picked out that stinks when I think the whole group kind of stunk out loud for most of last year. Right. But with that said, you brought it.
It was really easy too, like it, because he was the one new guy that wasn't the big blue wall. Like we saw Eli be good, we saw Horsey be good. Jagger's a Lexington kid. We're not going to blame the redshirt freshman. You know, like it was easy to just pin it on him because he wasn't, one of us that we had seen have some success before.
Yeah, and he'd been on campus for a little bit. He hadn't played and all of that, and so that happens. Now, with all that said about Flax, you brought in Cortland Ford to be the starter. There's no, I don't think, doubt about that. Yeah. And he hasn't won the job. So that in and of itself is a bit worrisome to me. That what's going on that he hasn't won this job yet. We're going to see him in real games. So we're going to get to see whether Flax has made real strides or not. Or we're going to get to see whether is Ford not ready, or we're going to start to hear, oh, he was injured a lot in camp, this or that. I've been, how that stuff leaks out once you start getting into the season. So we're going to learn a lot. We're going to get into Ball State here, but this defensive front, Nick, is legit. Good. I mean, it's a good defensive front. I'm not saying it's top 5, top
LSU.
6 or anything.
Right.
Yeah, Kentucky's going to see, but it is a legit good defensive front.
It's formidable. They aren't just going to be able to bully him.
It's got a bunch of fifth-year redshirt seniors, and it's got a guy on the edge that plays with a hot motor, undersized, but just gets after it, kind of their jack linebacker position. And they are going to challenge Kentucky, and they play a lot. We're going to get into that more, but both sides, Ball State is kind of like a mirror image of Kentucky, stylistically. So I think that's like when Kentucky plays Georgia, how it usually plays out. I think that's what's going to kind of happen on Saturday. Ball State's going to try to play like Kentucky, and Kentucky's got better players throughout the roster, so it's going to be hard to beat them that way. But it's going to be Spider-Man memes in a lot of ways when these two teams face each other, so that's going to be interesting to see. But, yeah, I think all eyes are going to be on Flax there at right tackle and kind of just how they hold up as a line in general. Can they pick up stunts this year, Nick? I mean, or is there simple twist stunts, put them in hell again like they did all last year?
And that was really where Flax, it was most frustrating because it was just getting lost on simple stuff that, you should know by now, right? Like you're in the SEC, you're going to face stunts. One thing, do we think that this was the and the play in both this first month of the season? I mean, this might run like a week or two before they finally just give it to somebody. Do we think that was the plan the whole time? Like this was just inevitable, no matter what.
It might have been. We might find that out. But again, this is the kind of benefit of the schedule. They have this runway. Yeah. For this now,
you got time to figure it out.
They pay for it later on when you start looking at that back half of the game, the run they have to go through after the bye week. But they have some time right here to tinker with things, and I think the right tackle position is one thing they're tinkering with, and just the O-line group, I think, as a whole. And so that's what we're all going to be watching, and Flax gets the first run. But I do want to stress, it's not like I don't think he's I think some people are acting like he's the full-time starter. To me, the battle's not over. That they're gonna split time. Now that could change. If we get out of here and the snap distribution's way off, then maybe he is the guy. But we'll have to see But now we get actual stuff to analyze. Where before
it's not just what they're telling us. Yeah.
Smoke and mirrors. We're just kind of guessing and reading in between the lines. Now we actually get some data. So we'll have snap to count data. We'll have game rep data and all, and tape to look at and all of that. So can't wait. That's the most exciting part. We get to actually I get to watch game tape on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
We get to talk about that, and then I'll have game tape to watch on EKU when they play Scott Satterfield this weekend. So that is exciting in and of itself.
Which you mentioned Satterfield. DeAndre Buford, he's starting for Scott Satterfield at Cincinnati. And
That's right.
David Wallaball, the other tackle that transferred, he'll be starting for Syracuse this fall. So just something to think about. You also mentioned, that extra runway. I think one player who's going to benefit from a little bit of that extra runway is next up on our 11 topics here on 11 person. That's Ramon Jefferson, who yesterday at practice, I was struck, let's be candid like it. I've run out of questions to ask these guys. So I'm just like, hey, Ray, you're a good talker. Here's a soft toss. Just run with it. It's like, Ray, how excited are you to just get back to playing football? And then Ray just talks for, 30 seconds because he's good at it. And he's like, I want to get in the end zone. That'll be cool. And he's like, but really, I want to see Ramon get in the end zone because he's gone through a lot. He's been through hell. And to see his story come full circle, that would be special. And so I thought that said a lot about where the team's mindset is right now. Like that's a very good sign. But from an X's and O's standpoint too, like this is a great opportunity to see how this running game, how this rotation, you mentioned snap counts, how it can all work together against a front seven that isn't just going to let Kentucky do whatever the hell they want. It kind of reminds me of that Chattanooga team that was pesky as hell and it made a lot of Kentucky fans mad. But, like, they were good up front. They had a dude get drafted by the Patriots in, the first, second round at center. So, like, it's going to be good that they're actually going to get challenged in the trenches.
I've actually written that down. Like, Ball State comp of recent Kentucky opponents is similar to Chattanooga from how they're built from the inside out. Their two biggest positional strengths are probably offensive line and defensive line, and then linebacker, where the big questions are quarterback, receiver. Mm-hmm. So I do think that's not a bad comp. And when you look at their
same wavelength
numbers,
over here.
Yeah, it's scary. But their defensive numbers from last year, Nick, I mean, they were top 30 in yards per play. They were number 10 in passes defended per game. They were number 20 in 20-plus yard plays allowed. So, like, they've got some, number 17 in yards per pass allowed. So they've got some good numbers. But it's not like it's built different. It's built kind of similar to Kentucky in how they stylistically attack. So, yeah, I mean, they are going to challenge. In Clayton Cole, their linebacker, who makes almost every tackle for them, it seems like, number 32. He's had 200-plus tackles the last few years. Pretty much said in the press conference that, we're prepared for them, that they're going to come in and try to run on it. So that's, like, our big focus. And Kentucky has said that nonstop. Like, how many times have we heard Mark Stoops and Liam Cohen talk about wanting to establish the run,
Got to run the football. Yeah. You mentioned the limiting the big pass plays, though. Ball State is replacing 3 members of their secondary. There's a safety that's back, number 6, I want to say. Yeah, he's the only one that's back, and he's will come up in the box, kind of a Mike Edwards. He had 70 tackles last fall, really racked up a bunch of numbers, doing a little bit of everything for him. So they are going to be breaking in some new guys there, and that's where you hope that Barryon Brown and Dane Key can just out-athlete the hell out of those guys that aren't – they're playing a bunch of dudes who haven't played before, right? So that's where the real true mismatch I see in this matchup is.
Yeah, I think offensively, when Kentucky has the football, they are going to get challenged by defensive line that not only is a solid starter, but they're too deep in each spot, Nick. They run a 3-4 kind of two-gapping scheme, very similar to Kentucky. They want to eat blocks and keep their backers clean and let their backers run free and roam and make tackles. Jordan Riley, Mike Edwards' usage is very similar to how Ball State uses him. In base, he's probably a deep safety, but they'll slide him down into the slot, play some nickel, and do all kinds of stuff for them. But they are breaking in new corners. One guy was kind of their third starter, Red Potts, so they feel confident in him. But after that,
Red Potts is a 1906 baseball player for the Cincinnati Reds, or the Red
Stockings.
Stockings.
He's a 2023 cornerback for the Ball State Cardinals, who had 26 tackles and 5 pass breakups last year. So they like him, but after that, there's an Old Dominion transfer they're throwing in there. But Kentucky's big advantage is in the passing game, specifically play action pass. If they're able to get the run game going and all, there's going to be big opportunities for big explosive pass plays, and that's typically in a matchup like this where you're supposed to have more talent than the other team. That's where you should be making the most headway. It's really just the explosive plays. Should be able to create big chunk plays, and I think that's what will happen for Kentucky in the pass game. And so we'll have to see what's the balance there. Do they come out and just want to say, "Hey, Devin Leary, go,
let's go,
go make it. Let's go make a run at the Heisman. Let's go throw it. We're going to throw it 10 times to start out, or is it going to be all right? Get a score early, and then let's tinker some stuff with the run game.
Right.
That's something we're going to have to see. But I do think it's worth noting. Back 2 years ago, 13 games, 10 opening drive touchdowns for the Kentucky offense with Liam Cohen calling plays.
What was that game where Cohen was like, we came out and the plan was to throw it all over the yard, and
it was Chattanooga.
Was that Chattanooga? Okay, all right. I remember Cohen just being like, yeah, we didn't really want to run the ball.
It was either that or New Mexico State. It was one of those two games.
And they just came out and looked like ass. It was bad. But yeah, to your point, it's going to be fun just to see Cohen back on his BS, right? He's got a guy who's played a lot of football under center at quarterback, which is a luxury he has not had very often. So it's going to be very exciting. We'll get more into the weeds of this shortly, but we hope to see you there. If you don't have tickets yet, like my dad, he came over today and said, Nick, show me how this Game Time app works. You've been talking all about it. How does it work? And I was like, Dad, this is easy. Just go to your app store, download Game Time. You don't need to have somebody walk you through it, but you just, boom, Game Time app, log in. You don't even need to log in initially. Like you can just click and go so fast. You don't need to have an account set up for this to happen. Just bada bing, bada boom. It's fast. It's great because I just hit the game. And I'm like, I don't know. Look where you want to sit. And I was like, I mean, all the these tickets are like $25-ish bucks. You can get lower level. There's some good seats here. And he got a nice corner spot about 15 rows up. So he should have a good vantage point. You can see it before you buy it. He tapped it, put in his credit card information, put in the promo code KSR, and he got $20 off his first purchase. You can do the same. I mean, it's to the point where I was like, wait, that's it? It's like, yeah, and the tickets are there. They were added to his wallet. Very convenient. Try the Game Time app before you go to Kentucky Ball State game. Very simple, and use that promo code KSR. The fastest, easiest ways to buy tickets. So easy. My old man can even figure out how to do it, Mr. Luckett. I didn't even really need to help him. It was great.
I'm proud of him.
So, Luckett, I don't know how familiar you are with Ball State, the institution, because I wanted to just drop some knowledge on some fans. You play all these MAC schools, and I think most schools know why it's called Ball State, because ball, it ain't a state. Do you know why it's called Ball State, Mr. Luckett?
No, but yeah, tell me.
So, have you ever drank out of a mason jar?
Sure.
It's the Ball jars. They were made in Muncie, and the Ball brothers.
Yes.
The college was they couldn't keep it running. They're like, we'll fund it. We'll get this college going. So instead of Eastern Indiana normal school, it's Ball State. Yeah, they're drinking beers off I-69 out of mason jars. Another thing about Muncie, Indiana, big volleyball town. Big volleyball town. Some might say that's the lifeline of Muncie, Indiana. So a lot of volleyball up there. I know there's a lot of people that travel from up here to play in tournaments because Louisville, it's pretty big up there. I learned when I was in high school, we were going up with we were going to watch my friend's sister when we were really just going to hit on the girls that were a year older. But we went on the road and we discovered the Indiana law that you can't buy beer at gas stations, which is
cold beer.
Gosh, cold beer. Yes, right, exactly. This is the dumbest law ever. Muncie, that we're lumping them in with all of Indiana. That's just the dumbest wall ever. But they do have a few famous alumni. The most prestigious of them, actually, I had no idea. Papa John was a Ball State Cardinal. Who would have thought? I thought he was in the house at U of L, Wildcat.
He's in a lot of houses. Kenny Chesney vibes with old Papa John.
David Letterman.
I knew he went to a school in Indiana. I didn't know it was Ball State.
Yeah,
so
Ball State.
That's new to me.
David Letterman's their biggest
Buddy
one.
Says in the chat.
Yeah. He rocks the hardware. That I didn't realize that Matt Painter is from Muncie. He went to Purdue, but he was a star at Muncie Central back in the day. Does the name Frank Thomas ring a bell?
The Big Hurt?
Nah, not that one. Not the guy on eugenics. He was the Gippers' roommate, the Notre Dame quarterback who coached Alabama to 2 national championships.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. I forgot the name.
Different one from Muncie.
So where is Muncie? Is it Indianapolis adjacent? So where exactly is it in the state of Indiana?
You gotta hit I-69 going northeast, and it's between Fort Wayne. I don't know, probably 45 minutes northeast of Indianapolis. It's the
so it's
I can
like
cut
South
through,
Bend ish,
but much more south, almost Ohio.
Okay.
In fact, if I want to go to my wife's in Ohio, you can go the Cincinnati way, or you can go the Indy way, and the Indy way cuts through Muncie. My favorite tourist attraction in Muncie, never been there before, the Bob Ross Museum. That is where Bob Ross filmed all of his shows at the local NPR. I think it was NPR station there, or not NPR, but whatever the public PBS station there is where he filmed all of his shows. It was in Muncie, and they've got a museum there now. They teach art classes there, so that's probably the most famous landmark. Muncie is Bob Ross's town. If Mike New won a few more games, it might be his. Only Mac school in Indiana.
Yeah, he's getting a little close to hot seat territory at the old alma mater. Population, Nick. What's the population?
Ooh, let me scroll up here. Wikipedia tells me it is 65,000. Pretty big city.
So what is that? Like Bowling Green? Is Bowling Green that big? Bowling Green's not that big, is it?
That's a good point. I bet it's probably similar. I don't know how. Yeah, 75,000 is Bowling Green, so it's 73,000. Close enough.
More like Owensboro, maybe. So that's kind of the Jim Pop we're dealing with. Okay.
Yeah.
No, it's the Indiana school in the Ohio Conference.
Yes.
Ball State Cardinals. But it sounds like it's pretty much in Ohio from how you kind of laid the map out to me.
Yeah, it basically is. It's a stone's throw away. How we travel to Indiana go gamble, they can do that to Ohio if they needed to. It's that close.
Yeah.
I didn't realize this. UMass spent a couple of years in the MAC. Owen joked until they threw him out. I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, that's like early 2010, 2011, 2012, I believe.
So but they threw him out though, like because they weren't.
I think they replaced him with like Buffalo. Yeah, essentially, it was a bad fit. They had to travel up to Amherst to go play, and it was just. I think that it just didn't fit. It just didn't make much sense for everybody. But yeah, it was around the time that the first realignment started. I think it was around that time. So you're looking at like Johnny Football era ish.
Yeah.
So about 10 years ago or so.
But Mike New, like you said, he's a former Ball State quarterback, played there in the 90s. He's now in his 8th season. They were a win away last year from becoming bowl eligible for the 3rd straight year. That would have been a program first. He got a division title during the COVID year in 2020, but he's never beaten a Power 5 opponent, 0-8. Ball State is 0-11 lifetime against SEC opponents. That includes a loss to Gamo back in 2001. I was shocked that Ball State didn't make a bowl last year because Carson Steele was so much fun to watch. He had 1,500 yards rushing last fall. Behind that offensive line that's returning. They've got 66 starts combined, which is top 20 in all of the FBS. So they had a big-time rusher last year. Lost him to UCLA with the big mullet. He was one of those guys when it was like, oh, man, how many portal guys does Kentucky need at running back? Do you go after Carson Steele? He's going to be fun out at UCLA. But one thing Ball State did that is similar to Kentucky as well, they took a 1,000-yard rusher from within the conference.
They did.
Marquez Cooper was at Kent State. He had 2,500 yards over the last 2 seasons, but his head coach dipped to be Coach Prime's OC, and I guess he decided to. Ends up at Ball State to run behind a good offensive line. He's a good ball player. I expect this rushing operation to continue to hum this fall in Muncie.
Yeah, you mentioned that division title. They actually upset Lance Leipold's, I believe, last Buffalo team to win the MAC title in 2020. But other than that, they haven't had a winning record. So you see that sometimes in that conference. Teams can rise up and then fall down.
A lot of variance. Yeah.
I was surprised when I started digging in and started learning more about Mike New and how he runs operation and schematically and all that stuff they do. Like, I knew he had Carson Steele, and I knew that was like a bell cow back, and that's what he was. Average over 24 carries per game, rush for over 15 yards, had a huge season this year for them. But they were, with all that said, they were one of the most pass-heavy offenses in college football. They threw it over 40-something times per game last year, even with Steele. So essentially, it was a pass play or Steele was getting the ball on every snap. And I think it'll go down a little bit this year, but this is a pass-first operation. So they're very much pro-ish style in how they attack. They're going to run condensed formations like Kentucky. They're going to get for motion heavy like Kentucky, pre-snap shift heavy. And they're going to use that as a weapon, some of that pre-snap kind of eye candy. But then after the snap, they're going to look to throw it a lot. And I think Cooper, that was a good pickup for them, but in the MAC and at these lower level nicks, it's hard to find bigger tailbacks.
Yeah.
Like that's why Steele was so good for them. He was just a 215, 220 bulldozer, where Cooper's 5'8". He's probably really 5'6". They list him at 180 pounds. He's a one-cut runner, runs really hard, but he's a little guy.
Yeah.
So I'm be interested to see how effective he can be against Kentucky's big front. But they're going to throw it a lot. And to me in this game, two things we want to see from this defense is the pass rush and coverage and how they tie into each other. They're going to get a lot of reps in this game. I think Ball State's going to come out and throw it a bunch. They added Lane Hatcher, a transfer, super senior, same high school class as Devin Leary. He walked on at Alabama, landed at Arkansas State, played there under Blake Anderson, then went to Texas State, played there.
Got the hell out after a year of Butch Jones. I mean, 1 year of Butch Jones, that's God's work,
And every place he's been, it's been, it's kind of pass-heavy spread, where this is going to be more pro-style, but it's still lean, a little pass-heavy. But they're going to allow him to throw it a lot, I think. And you're going to see that play out on Saturday. So I really want to see how can the pass rush get home? And what does the coverage look like? And can they make plays on the ball when the opportunities are there? When they have a chance at a pick, can they finish it off? Because that's, I think, a top goal for them this season. And it's going to be a good test, I think, right away to see Kentucky's new corner, specifically Maxwell Hairston. Because you're going to see him in coverage, but they're also, with their condensed formations, they're going to make him come down, and he's going to have to fight blocks and go make tackles. And so you're going to get to see him kind of play through traffic. So it's going to be a real good first test, I think, for him. And that's what you're going to kind of see when Ball State's on offense, and then defense, like we talked about. They run like the same defense as Kentucky. That's the best way I could put it. Like if Brad White left tomorrow, I'd probably throw this defensive coordinator on my list if I was making it for Kentucky, just because of stylistically what they do, and he's overachieved to their standards at Ball State. Tyler Stockton is his name. He's former Notre Dame defensive lineman. He's done a really good job there, and their front is going to challenge Kentucky like we talked about. But really, because of the Spider-Man meme and how they play, I think you're going to get to see couple of Kentucky's big question marks, right, going into the season. Offensive line and cornerback too. I think you're going to get to see spotlight shined on both of them, and we're going to see how Kentucky does in each aspect.
Matt's asking if we're going to get an interception on Saturday, and I'm hoping so. I'm hoping they create some turnovers. But
if you can find props, that's something I would look at. Kentucky interception, because of just the volume. I think Ball State is going to throw it in this game. They're just going to have a lot of chances to get one, and so yes,
and they also shouldn't be able to run the ball against Kentucky. I know they've got a 2,500 guy with 2,500 career rushing yards, but the stoutness of Kentucky's front seven, they should be able to control that. And then it's how much pressure are you going to get on Lane Hatcher? Big Dion, when he sees that guy come up there, is he going to put the fear of God in him? I hope so. But you want to see Kentucky be a little disruptive defensively, create some havoc. That was something that's kind of been absent. Now you've got a really old group out there, aside from the cornerback. So I do like this. We keep going back to the kind of carbon copy thing, but it's kind of akin to Kentucky basketball in November, playing a team from the MAC that's projected to win their conference. It's like playing the Vermont Catamounts, right? Like they're going to be one of the better teams in the conference, so in that regard, all right, that's good. Or you play like a team with just a bunch of athletes. They might not be great, but like, okay, this will prepare you for what you're going to see in SEC play. The guys that you want to see tested are going to get tested on Saturday. The guys that you want to see get tested are going to get tested on Saturday.
Yeah, okay. Nick, first touchdown scorer. Who are you rolling with? Here, a guy, Daniel Peak. Who scores the first points for KY?
I've struggled with this question.
Last year, if you remember, Miami went down, drove down, and scored on Kentucky. And then it was all Kentucky after that. But we just talked about what happened with Cohen. So if Kentucky gets a stop or gets the ball first, I think there's a good chance they go down and score. So who would you ride with if you had to make a first person score play here?
I would do the boring pick and pick the guy with the lowest odds. It's Ray Davis, because part of what I want to see is Kentucky get back to being effective in the red zone. And they worked a lot situationally on passing in the red zone when they did their one live scrimmage where they were tackling. But Cohen wants to be able to run the damn ball. So test it. Like, here's your chance. You're going up against formidable front seven. Run the damn ball right through Cole, right through that dude's face. So I would put my money on Ray Davis. And then Barryon Brown would be second, because I think the next likeliest option is that Barryon just gets past somebody and scores a 40-yard touchdown.
I think Brendan Bates is a pretty good long shot option here.
Oh.
You get down the red zone. We saw Justin Rigby heavily involved as a red zone target. I could see, especially if you get in the run game going, play just your typical NFL play action to the tight end in a two tight set. You sneak the inline guy out. He's wide open. Bates is a guy came back for an extra year. He's had a really good camp. Try to get a super senior in the end zone to start the season. I kind of like that one. So that would be because that's really what you're looking for. I mean, it's a roll of the dice either way on those, but that one would have, I think, a pretty good payout if your book of choice maybe offered that.
One person too. I doubt this will be out there, but if I had to roll the dice on somebody getting an interception, Jalen Geiger. He's a guy that we haven't talked about a bunch, but he's returning after suffering that ACL season-ending injury a year ago in week 2 at Florida. He's had a pick six in his career down at Vanderbilt. I could see him being one of those that they're moving him kind of all over the place. They're going to try to use him to disguise some stuff, and I could see him just hopping right in front of one of Hatcher's passes. He just doesn't see him, lines up, that doesn't account for him, and Geiger surprises and makes a nice play on the ball.
Yeah. When PFF publishes the snap count distribution, that's going to be the first place I look. Just how is that safety trio? How are those snaps split up? And so he's definitely going to be a player I'm going to keep an eye on Saturday.
Kentucky offensively, Wildcat, is there a magic number that you need to see on the scoreboard to feel good about how they played? 40 enough?
If they had less than 35, I would be a little something bad happened.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily great. But I don't. You have to see the games because I don't know what kind of possession game it's going to be. Where are they getting the ball? What happened on drives? You kind of have to play it out. But
I mean, right now,
yeah, I think they should. I think they should push 40. Yeah, I think they should be pushing 40.
Thank you. Grow a freaking spine. We got to get SEC Mike in here to teach you how to have a take like it. Damn it. Oh, well, the game could go. No, like 45 or die or nothing. 45 or I'm coming to the football podcast Monday steaming.
They should have 40 plus. And you remember back to last year in these games, they can never bust through. They were scoring in the 30s, and you were just like,
goals.
well, they'll eventually, the lid'll come off eventually. They're just working through some things, and that never happened. So that from a test standpoint, you do want to see them go out. You don't want to see them like really sputter a lot of the game, and you want to see them break through and create explosive plays, finish in the red zone, avoid penalties, take care of the football. And if you can, I think the total right now, the team total is 36 and a half for Kentucky.
I'd go over.
You push 40, that would be a good afternoon.
The SP Plus projections call this a 37 to 7 game. I trust those a little bit better than some of the advanced stats projections, just because Bill Connolly puts a lot of nuance and offseason change in there. Where most of them you need a couple games to bake into that, but that would cover the spread. I feel like that. I'm curious if this is going to be a play on your board when we do the pigskin preview on Friday, like it. But I know for Kentucky fans, we like to, we're gambling starting in the state, right? We're going to get excited. And many times it's like, well, this isn't what Mark Stoops does, right? Like he doesn't blow out the bad teams. I really want to see that. I want to see this on Saturday because Devin Leary isn't like a quarterback you've had before. I want to see him 9 different players catch passes, and I want 3 or 4 different guys scoring touchdowns. Like this, we saw what this offense can be. That 2021, especially the farther you get away from it, I mean, that's the best offense since 2007, right? So, and that was just with Wandale, Josh Ali, and Chris Rodriguez. No offense to some of the guys who hung around from that team, but those are really your big 3 options, right? And this team should have more weapons than that. You should be scoring in the mid to high 40s, and you should be blowing out this Ball State team on Saturday, even though they do kind of are going to butt some heads with you from time to time. You should be able to go over the top and score some points.
Yeah, I know that's consensus that they don't blow out the bad teams, but Kentucky's 9-2 against the spread in their last 11 non-conference home games. So they typically they typically do blow out these teams. It's maybe just not. It's not pretty.
Yeah.
What you're getting at is you want to see fireworks.
Well, it's like the old Petrino. Throw it long, right? Go over the top. Take the top off the defense.
You have the quarterback. You have the receivers. You want to see the explosive plays, the big chunk gains. You want to. That's what you want to see.
Yeah.
And I don't disagree with that. You need to we need to see some of that. My big concern is stylistically, Kentucky, I think, needs to lean a little not pass first, but lean a little bit more to the pass. Mm-hmm. If you were going to make a chart or whatever. But we know Stoops wants to lean and then lean a little bit more towards the run. And they're going to have to find a happy medium. And what does it look like in these first 3 games? And what we see in the first 3 games, what should be our big takeaway? Because I think it's going to be different when they start playing. You get in the SEC and SEC play, and then Louisville at the end of the year. Because I know they're tinkering with stuff right here. So what does it look like? But I do think you need to see the explosiveness from the passing game, because that is the strength of your team. No matter what your whole year is kind of banked on you being able to throw the ball vertically and create explosive plays. So you do want to see that, and it would be nice to see it in week 1.
And to Ben's point, he wants to see 0 sacks. I'm just curious to watch Leary operate under pressure because it's different than Levis. Levis was a great runner, but he was steps up in the pocket and runs north-south. Leary, and also Levis sucked at feeling. Like he did not have a great sense of awareness, right? Like how many times are you just like, throw the damn ball, get it out. Like you're holding it too long. Whereas like Leary, I feel like we're going to get a lot of more, kind of scatting around back there, extending the play, and then throwing it underneath to, the ass kicker or something like that.
Lack of wiggle in the pocket, knowing how to maneuver in the pocket, which is a skill set. That was a struggle for him, and I think the injury made him very much a sitting duck for most of the season last year. And when you are a statue in the pocket, that makes a pass rush easier because you have a launch point, and you're going to launch point. There's no him. He's not moving
it's
around.
Like a drill.
If he's moving.
Right.
He's not moving very fast and laterally. He's not like you talked about. He's very much a linear athlete when it comes time to maybe use your hips and move around. It's something he didn't really succeed at, and so like seeing Leary, it's going to look different. So yeah, I definitely how he handles pressure, I think will be remarkably different this year as compared to Levis. But you're not going to get the QB powers and like, hey, let's run a draw right here, or let's run a QB run, QB counter, or whatever. Those runs you're not really going to have, so it's going to be different in that aspect. But then again, they weren't able to use those runs last year. One, because the OC didn't want to, and two, he got hurt early in the year and he just couldn't move.
Yeah, Leary's got a little wiggle. You can have a little wiggle this Saturday too if you're rocking some shorts from Bird Dogs. Maybe the Wayne Legretzky's. Love the names. They got plenty of creative names. Plenty of wonderful products there. We're the biggest fans of the shorts with the liner in them, but they've got plenty of different great styles at a price point that will make you happy. And you'll be even happier if you use the promo code KSR. You're going to get a Hydro Flask style water bottle on the house when you use that promo code, or you visit birddogs.com/KSR to do your shopping ahead of this Kentucky football season. And on top of all their stylish shorts, they got upperwear too. They got tops too. The polos are wonderful. The hats, I've seen some of the Bird Dogs hats out in the wild too. Like somebody was rocking one at the media scrum yesterday in Lexington. So Bird Dogs, they're comfortable, they're stylish, they're the best of the best. Use promo code KSR or shop at birddogs.com/KSR. They'll hook you up with a Hydro style flask or a Hydro Flask style cup that maybe you pour some of that good sweet nectar in there and like it. Freddie's
question in the
little
chat right quick here. Nick.
Okay.
Who is excited for a beer at the stadium? Who plans on buying one? Who doesn't? Does them having it maybe going to make you enter the game a little early? So let us know in the chat what you think of.
That's a great point because like here, first things first. 8 a.m. kickoff. Look at what's your ideal tailgate breakfast for the nooner game, because it is there's a lot of options. It's not just for most people, they aren't just cracking open the Bud Light at 7:30 a.m. and sucking down a hot dog, right? It's a little bit different for a morning tailgate. So what's your go-to move, especially for one that's going to be nice and crisp football weather Saturday morning?
I think it all depends on what time you're getting out there and how much tailgating you plan on doing. The Chick-fil-A mini chickens, whatever that's called, that is just the easy one. You just pick that up. It's there. People have something to munch on.
Did you see the spicy biscuits are back? Which
I did.
Just best. Why they ever got rid of it?
We had some of those at media days.
Dude, having spicy chicken biscuits back, I gained the freshman 15 at UK thanks to those. Those are life-changing, so shout out. But sorry to interrupt. I just needed to note that for the crowd.
Yeah, so you can do that. Or you can do just do a breakfast sandwich. Just go in, get your Bojangles chicken filet biscuit, roll into town, or whatever breakfast you want. To me, it's always late arriving at the tailgates when you're rolling in this late. So you're only going to be out there for an hour-ish. So a lot of times it's get a bite to eat when you're in the stadium.
Oh,
Yeah.
that too.
Or when you're in the stadium.
If you show up to a tailgate though, and if you have a spread that just like really just bacon and a bloody,
Yeah,
like
you make-
even to where
make like
I'm
a
dipping the
casserole.
bacon in
Yeah.
the blood. Oh, the breakfast casserole. That's a good point because you can make it ahead of time, and then if you just put it over an open flame, warm it up a little bit. But I've also learned too. I've discovered Freddy's bubble water. That's what I tell Duke. If we're gonna treat ourselves, we're gonna have some bubble water. But the Kroger sparkling water. That with a little bit of Tito's is a wonderful drink that goes down rather easily. That is going to be inserted into my rotation. But to answer your point too, Luckett, I think we might have to go in earlier than normal because normally that's time for us to kind of we get like a little bit of in between time where we can kind of hang out at the tailgates and maybe have one cold one. I think we might have to go and try out some of Kroger Field's finest and watch warm ups, right? Because I think there's a lot to that. And the people who are wary of alcohol sales, I think most of it now is just a matter of convenience and not just like trying to drink as much as you can and feel uncomfortable. And then you go in, you're drunker than you want to be. Like, it's going to be nice for a lot of people to just maybe catch a little buzz and then drink 4 beers at the game.
The number one reason they're selling beer at games is for a fan amenities, to get butts in the seats. It's an extra... Like, you can have this here at the game. Come take advantage of it.
Come see about it.
Because attendance was an issue. But I do think, Nick, if you're... Like, I've been to NFL games, and instead of just pounding a couple beers in the parking lot, you can just go in and feeling uncomfortable while you're doing it.
Bloated. Like, oh, God.
You can just go in and just go get a beer. And then you could just, like, get to your seat and settle in. Like, that, I think, is going to be the advantage for you. Like, you can just go in. And then the way I think they've set up the beer, kind of, if you kind of look at the concession stands, like, they have multiple tents. I really think the only bad place in the stadium is upper deck, visitor side. They only have 2 up there in that upper concourse. Everywhere else, they got multiple, and they have options that you can choose from. I thought they were very much going to nickel and dime the good people and say we got 3 throughout the whole. Because that's how Vanderbilt was when I went.
Yeah.
That's how Vanderbilt was when I went in 2019, and they had literally had 2, one on one side, one on the other, and the lines were outrageous. That's how I thought it was going to be. But this, I think, should be somewhat, once they work the kinks out early, somewhat efficient of being able to get beers throughout the game. So I think going in early is the way to do it because you can just go in, get it, settle in, you're ready to go. And that's especially for a noon game, Nick, when you don't have a chance to tailgate a lot. That's
right.
Because you can go in and get to your seat, and that's just there, and you don't have to feel rushed. That's a fan amenity, and that's why they did it.
It's going to be nice. Tyler did join the chat. No, this is not a Jared jersey. This is the Coliseum 32, which that's a nice reminder is we're getting new jerseys that we're going to see for the first time at Kroger Field on Saturday.
That too.
That's going to throw people off, and a lot of people haven't seen the new turf, the new signage that's up on the field. Like, a lot of that pops. And we've been out there this week. They've had cranes up, putting the finishing touches on before game week. So it's a very exciting time in the Bluegrass. Kickoff at noon on the SEC Network. Dave Neal, Derek Mason, and Taylor Davis on the call if you're going to be watching from home. If you're going... 8 a.m., the KSR pregame show starts at KS Bar. Breakfast is going to be served at 9, and that's when the Lex Train shuttle is going to happen. I know there's sometimes where, those parking passes, they go about as fast as anywhere, but I think if you're there early for this opener, you should be good. We can park at the Dairy Queen now, so that's nice as well.
Is KS Bar serving breakfast again?
9 a.m. We'll have
9
breakfast on the menu, so yeah. That can be the way to go. I like Lincoln's throwing shade at Tennessee. Big shout out also to everybody in the chat and everybody who tuned in tonight. This was our largest live audience so far, and I mean the games haven't even started. We're really going to get this thing rocking and rolling in no time, Adam Luckett. It'll be, we're going to have actual games to talk about. I can't wait.
Yeah, enjoy the sprint. It's not this season. Unfortunately, is not a marathon. It's very much a sprint. But I'm glad this sprint is here, and let's all run it together.
Enjoy it. Enjoy it all, Big Blue Nation. Thanks to our partners at Game Time, Bird Dogs, promo code KSR for each of them, and our presenting sponsors at Monticello Bank. 21 locations, 14 different counties. They're the best. And you're the best, Big Blue Nation. Wow. Football time in the Bluegrass is almost here. We'll have our picks, our official Kentucky picks on Friday, along with everything else on this opening Labor Day weekend of football.
And if you see us in the parking lot, not just Saturday, but this season, just say hey.
Yeah.
We don't bite.
Don't
promise.
No. We're friendly. We might turn you down for a beer. We might not. Tyler, earmuffs, Tyler, earmuffs. But we're going to have a good time this Kentucky football season, and hopefully this Saturday is the start of something special. We're going to have it all right here on the KSR YouTube channel and everywhere else. KSR on X. We're on X now. X going to give it to you.
Well.
So follow us wherever you can. And the KSR Plus sale, it shuts down Saturday. 50% off for the year. Wildcat scouting reports dropping tomorrow, so he's going to have a lot more into the X's and O's, unlike anything else in the market.
And my full card, Game on Picks, will also be up on Friday. So yeah, come join the party with us at KSR Plus. We've already got betting trends and nuggets getting posted on the board. Mm-hmm. Fastest growing fan community, Kentucky fan community on the World Wide Web. And if South Carolina were to lose on Saturday, you can go to their board and read some Gamecock tears, or you can go to other places if they had a bad performance.
Oh,
that
Florida Thursday night.
Subscription.
Gators Online, man, that place is popping. Yeah. Oh, and the Husker, the Nebraska one, those people
Husker Online
can be lunatics too. So it's a blast. Sign up now, 50% off for your first year. It's the deal of the century, and yeah, that's it. First game week. Check it off the box. We got plenty more coming. We'll be previewing EKU next week as well. For Adam Luckett, I'm Nick Roush. This has been 11 Personnel. Go Cats and go Crow Green.